was with my unconscious, dying father, telling him, Abba, I'll be okay. I'm happy with my life, so you don't need to worry about me, I promise. And then, holding his hand, I cried my heart out until I fell asleep in the chair next to his bed. My father was not a quiet man. He always had stories to tell, and he would tell them to anyone willing to listen. Just a few months before that dark, painful night, we were talking about what he wanted on his headstone. He said, Yarona, I want something unique. I want something people will remember. So we threw ideas back and forth with a lot of gallows humor when I suddenly said, hey, how about a man never at a loss for words? His laugh just about lit up the room. I love it. That's perfect, he said. There's a quote I love. Life is not measured by the breaths we take, but the moments that take our breath away. When I first heard this quote, I thought it was all about the wonderful and joyous moments of life that we should hold close. But as I got older and started experiencing significant losses, I began realizing that some of the darkest moments of my life, the ones that stole my breath with the pain they inflicted, were also the most impactful moments for me. And I began realizing that it's what we do with those losses that makes all the difference in who we choose to be in this world and how we live. Now, the general perception of loss in most societies is looked at through a very negative lens. In a village in Kenya, gathering wood sticks and bringing them to the family's home for funeral preparation is the responsibility of the young children in the village. But in a country like America, most people would cringe at the idea of having children be a part of a memorial process. Yet how many of us have been denied the ability to mourn a loved one because our parents or others thought it would be better to shield us from that experience? The problem, I found, is that when people are unable or unwilling to teach children about loss, they disable their capacity to process and accept loss and move on successfully in life. Now, I'm not saying accepting loss means you have to close the door on that experience. I believe accepting loss means you've developed a deeper understanding of it. And that understanding helps you profoundly connect with others through shared losses. Did I ever imagine losing both my parents before they got to meet my son? Before they ever even knew he existed? No. And I wish I could tell you that losing my parents were the only significant losses I've had in my life. Unfortunately, we don't have a limit on how many losses we experience in a lifetime. And all people want to know that when we leave the earth, our children and loved ones will be able to function and be okay without us. So why then do we continue to shelter children in a seemingly altruistic attempt to protect them from life's losses? For the last 15 years, I've been a part of the world of early childhood development, running a program for children birth to 3. And I found a running theme of parents trying to remove obstacles from their children's paths in a well-intentioned effort to make them happy and help them succeed. Yet, according to counselors and parenting experts, young people need to learn to handle obstacles on their own, even if they sometimes stumble or fail. So I began to characterize these obstacles and failures as foundational losses, which all people need to experience in order to succeed in life. What do I mean by this? Well, when a child is young, the losses are small. A young toddler is playing with her toy and she breaks it, so she loses that toy. But losses, as natural as aging, become more significant, more complex as we grow. The loss of a pet, the loss of a job, the loss of a relationship, and inevitably, the biggest loss of all, the loss of a loved one. The month before our son's 4th birthday, we lost our sweet 19-year-old kitty, or Princess Kika, as my husband lovingly referred to her. So I bought a few books for my son to help him process this loss. It's okay to say goodbye, cat heaven, and won by the iconic Mr. Rogers when a pet dies. On the day we knew she would be leaving us, I gathered her up in my robe and brought her into bed, and we all snuggled as a family. My heart was breaking for our loss and for the pain and sadness I could clearly see in my son's eyes. But I had a choice. I could try to shield my son from that pain, or just be there with him in full understanding and empathy, because I knew it wasn't my job to protect him from the feelings he was having. It was my responsibility to help support him in our shared loss. So, if it is unavoidable that we will all lose at some point, how can we be ready for these losses? Well, the following are some steps that I have found help people in the face of loss. Accept that loss is inevitable for yourself and for your loved ones, so you can be present with your loved one in the experience they are having. This will allow you to empathize with them and let them feel all of their emotions, even the hard ones. This will also teach them to care for themselves and build their own emotional resiliency. And lastly, learn to manage your own fears and discomfort surrounding your child or loved one's pain and suffering. Because if you try to shelter them from those experiences, you cut off their ability to grow. This will bring us to a new era in the way we approach loss. I'd like to leave you with this last thought. Once we're able to let go of the false narrative that we have some control over the finite nature of our lives, we can create more awareness and acceptance that loss is as inevitable as the limited number of breaths we take in our time on this earth.